Hey, this is Zach Rogers, editor of Marketecture, and you're about to hear the full-length version of our recent interview with Dr. Mark Grether, the VP and General Manager of Uber's advertising business. If you like what you hear, you can get the full-length versions of all of our 95-plus interviews at marketecture.tv. We hope you'll consider subscribing. Thanks very much, and enjoy this interview with Dr. Mark Grether.
Welcome to Marketecture, where you can get smart fast with in-depth interviews of leading technology executives. I'm Ari Paparo. I'm joined today by Dr. Mark Grether from Uber Advertising. Doctor, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Ari. Good to see you.
Yes, it's good seeing you as well. Probably the last time I saw you was at De Mexico many years ago. That's when you were still a seismic.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So this is pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited about this conversation because I want to hear about Uber advertising. So yeah, why don't you just start out by telling us, everyone knows who Uber is. Everyone knows that it's investing in advertising. What's the big picture here?
Yeah, happy to share a little more about Uber advertising. So if you do think about Uber advertising, we on the one hand have advertising opportunity on the Uber Eats app itself. So think about a restaurant owner, whether it's now a big chain like a McDonald's or even the small pizza place around the corner. They would like to go get more restaurant orders from the platform. They want to get more menu views. They want to get more orders. And so what they can do is they can participate in our sponsored listings program, a CPC-based program, and that enables them to get those extra menu views, extra orders, and they can then create and see relatively good high ROAS on our platform. So we're full loop attribution model for our advertisers, and we've rolled out that program actually now in 31 markets globally, and with more than 200,000 advertisers on the platform as we speak. So quite successful. But it's only the starting point for what we're doing in Uber advertising. What we also have now started to do is to offer our advertisers more mid to upper funnel advertising products at Uber Eats. So the idea is, how can I promote a new menu item on my restaurant? How can I promote a new location, right? Or how can I, even if I'm a dark kitchen, promote my restaurant itself on the Uber platform? And therefore, I may want to go above and beyond just a CPC spot listings program. And we can offer that. The second thing on the delivery side, which I'm really excited about, is as we are going into not only delivering food, but basically anything that you can get on the platform, including groceries, including alcohol, right? We are opening up now our Uber advertising program also for many new advertisers, mainly CPG advertisers, right? And they then want to basically advertise their own CPG products so that we as consumers buy them on the Uber platform as well. And it's also really, really amazing because it's a huge opportunity for us to go above and beyond our merchants on the platform when it comes to advertising. But even that is only half of what we're doing. There's another big business, which is on the mobility side, right? And that's where I'm also really, really passionate about. So think about the situation, Ari, that you are in New York, you're taking an Uber maybe to the airport, right? And the opportunity here is that you're typically in an Uber for about 20 minutes. So with 20 minutes of your attention,
20 minutes to the New York airport? I'm not sure about that.
Maybe it's LaGuardia, right? And then maybe 20 minutes is okay. JFK might be more 1 hour 15, which means we have even more of your time, right?
More ads, even more ads.
More ads, right? And so the idea is that we know where you are, we know where you're going to, right? And we can use that to then target relevant ads to you. And you see the ads when you're ordering the Uber, when you're getting into the Uber, and when you're in the Uber itself on your way to destination. And it's super exciting, and you see the ads on your mobile app. That's what we also have rolled out globally, and it's really, 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 really an exciting opportunity for us. It's for us a new way of enabling advertisers to do one-to-one marketing, but not on the web, but in the real world. Right? Imagine you might be on the way to, let's say, a Macy's or Walmart, right? And then Procter & Gamble can advertise while you're on the way to Walmart. Super, super exciting. Or you might be in the Hamptons, right? You might be on the way to a US Open. Super exciting opportunities. We expand that into in-car tablets. And the idea here is to really use the opportunity that you are 20 minutes in a car, right? To really provide rich entertainment-like advertisement. It's then all about video, it's about connected TV, but it's also about that the car becomes your next living room. In the US, we spend about 8 hours a week in the car. Today, we are sitting behind a wheel, drive the car ourselves, but in the future, with Uber and with the self-driving cars, we don't do that, and therefore we have now 8 hours time where we consume content. And with our in-car tablets, we are basically stepping our feet into that new, really, really exciting idea of the car becomes a new living room, a new kind of entertainment center, and therefore also a new way of how you consume advertising. Super exciting.
Right. And you also have on top, I'm sorry to interrupt, on top of the car. Right.
Exactly. The last one is on top of cars in 7 cities, including here in New York. We have screens on top of cars. And in this situation here, it's really about driving brand awareness, for example, for retail stores, driving food traffic into the stores. But it's also a great opportunity for our drivers to actually earn incremental income because there is a revenue share model in place with our drivers. So it's also an opportunity for them to make more money from advertising.
Awesome. That's a great overview. And it kind of lays out the roadmap for the rest of this conversation. So we have Uber Eats, Uber driving, in-car driving, the tablets, and the top of the cars as kind of the 4 big categories. Before I dive in, do you consider yourself part of the retail media trend, or is this something different?
Actually, when you think about Uber Eats, right, it's definitely retail media, right? That's exactly what we have, right? We have first-party data with closed-loop attribution, and we can provide that in a very compelling way to our advertisers. It's a CPC model. We can show increment ROAS. I would definitely say yes. However, I would say that we are not stopping there with retail media. I'm also now using more and more a new term, which is mobility media. And the idea is, right, in the future, we will see more and more ads when we are in vehicles such as Ubers and others. And I think it will become a whole new category in itself. So for us, it's retail media, what we do on Uber Eats, but it's also mobility media, what we're doing on the mobility side.
Okay, mobility media. We'll try to coin that term, see if it catches on. So let's do one at a time. Let's do Uber Eats first. So Uber Eats sounds like the majority of it is a sort of classic kind of bidded inventory where restaurants bidding for placements that are very ROI centric. So the user clicks and buys something, and the better the ad, the better it performs, right?
Exactly.
You're shaking your head. That's basically the model here. AdWords for restaurants.
It is exactly. It's very simple, right? Easy to understand for an advertiser, right? And so you have your ad, you put a price point to it, right? And depending on your click-through rate to conversions, you will be ranked higher in the feed, and therefore you get more and more traction on our platform. Exactly correct. Very simple. And then you can measure ROAS, and then you can define how much more money you want to spend depending on the ROAS that you have achieved. Exactly.
And are you what sort of targeting are people generally using? Geo, obviously, right?
The first one is geo, right? Yeah. That is the big one. The second one is what also advertisers are really interested in is in Uber One members, right? So we have a strong membership program, and the idea is if you do attract members who are much more loyal to the platform, you will actually generate a much longer lifetime value of any new either that you've acquired through the advertising program.
Okay, so that's sort of like they're choosing the best Uber consumers effectively.
In a way, right? Yeah. But you could also do conquesting, right? You can also go for a category, right? You may be in the burger category, right? And you can do then conquesting in that category as well. So there are many, many ideas of what you can do from an advertiser perspective. But to your point, at the end of the day, it's really all about performance.
Right. And what sort of options do they have creatively?
So right now we do only have display ads. So again, it's a performance product, so it's display only. And then they bring their own display to the platform, and then we run the display campaigns on their behalf.
Okay, so this is an image, it doesn't look like the other listing. If I search for, I'm trying to imagine this, I search for burgers, I see a list of all the burger places in my area, and then there's going to be like a banner ad above it for whoever's advertising.
Yeah, it looks very similar to the feed, the organic feed itself, right? And then it's up to the restaurant whether they have exactly the same image or whether they would like to use a different image, right? Sometimes they also want to combine with an offer, right? And then maybe the messaging might be slightly different.
And how's the advertiser mix varying between like big national chains versus local mom and pops?
Yeah, great question. So as I mentioned, we have more than 200,000, right, mom and pop shops on the platform. So I would say it depends a little bit on the country, the mix. Sometimes it is 50-50, sometimes it is 60-40. It depends a little bit on the country. It also depends a little bit on whether you are in more rural areas or more densely populated areas. So those are the factors that influence a little bit the mix. But give and take, I would say it's a 60-40, 60 the big brands, 40 more what you would call SMBs.
Could I log in today and run an ad? Is the self-service capability powerful enough?
Yeah, that's what all of our SMBs basically do, right? They log into the platform and then they set up the campaigns themselves. Our enterprise accounts, they could do the same, but they rather rely on managed service, so we're doing it on their behalf.
Of course, right. But and what would be the minimum entry point if I was a mom and pop restaurant?
You can start with $50 a week, and here you go.
Wow, that's great. And in terms of ROI and results, I'm primarily going to be relying on your reporting that's going to say you spent this much money and we generated this many orders in the app. It's like a full closed loop here.
Exactly the case, but keep in mind that you in your restaurant see the orders coming, right?
Right.
Which means you in the physical store, you see how many couriers come and pick up the food, right? So you can then double check that you're not kind of counting numbers in the wrong way, right?
I was sort of contrasting it to say like Google Maps advertising for a long time has had a struggle with this because they try to get people to make a phone call so that you could track it, when the very common consumer behavior is to find a location on Google Maps and then pick up your cell phone and call it, and they don't know the source of it. So you actually have the advantage of a full closed loop because presumably they're ordering on the app.
Exactly, the ordering on the app, right? In theory, someone might create appetite on the app and then they may go to a different app or they go to the restaurant itself, right? So you could argue our number is a little bit underrepresenting that impact, right? But all in all, I would say it's a pretty accurate way of measuring ROAS.
And is there any user level targeting or behavioral targeting allowed?
Yes, we do have behavioral targeting. So again, we have one database across mobility and delivery. Which means on the Eats side, we can make full usage of that kind of targeting capabilities, which typically our advertisers do not make use of, because they just say, hey, just optimize for ROAS performance cases. I don't care whether it's a male or female who orders the pizza, right? I just care that I get as many orders as possible. So they have the levers, but they typically don't use it. More sophisticated ones, again, they look into things like Uber One as an expression for a little more lifetime value. Some of them may go into conquesting. Again, there are different options, but typically they are basically having hands-off, just let the system kind of optimize on their behalf.
In theory, you could say, anyone who's been at a bar late at night, I want to show ads for Taco Bell or something like that. But you're saying probably people don't do that.
Yeah, you could do that. If you want to do that, you could definitely run such a strategy. That's doable.
Right. And it's interesting because your system is a closed system, so the privacy concerns are much less. Like there's very little chance of data leakage, for example, that someone would be able to extract data about some user's behavior based on ads. It might theoretically be possible. Yeah,
but you're right. We are closed loop from that perspective, right? And therefore there's no kind of cross-app tracking or things like that.
Right.
Or data leakage. That is a concern.
So you mentioned earlier the mid-funnel CPG use case for in Uber Eats. Let's talk about that. So this is like Doritos showing ads to people who might be interested in getting a grocery delivery or something along those lines.
Yeah. So we have for CPG advertisers basically two main use cases. The first one is you might order a burger, right? And then Pepsi wants to convince you to also get a Pepsi in addition to the burger. That is use case number one.
Right.
Use case number two is you do your grocery shopping on the Uber Eats platform, and you may need something in 30 minutes, you may need something in 2-3 hours, right? And as you're doing your grocery shopping, right, again, Pepsi would like to convince you to also order Pepsi through the app, right? And then you have really kind of a grocery kind of tuned kind of use case.
Right. And so that sounds like a kind of a hard problem because you kind of need to know that product's available from that retailer. Like, I don't think Pepsi is available in Whole Foods. That it gets kind of complicated, right? You want to take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so there are indeed a couple of challenges, right? And it's all about two main things. One is the catalog itself, which means a Pepsi in store 1 is not a Pepsi in store 2. They might have different kind of IDs, right? So you really want to make sure that you have a catalog that is representative of all the different variations of Pepsis and all the different retailers, what they have. So that's problem number 1 that you need to solve. And then problem number 2, to your point, is the availability, right, of the SKU in the store, right? Those are the two kind of things that you need to tackle from a technical perspective. The bigger question, however, for me is more a consumer perspective, which is, what is your initial way of how you're going after grocery shopping? And there are two ways of how you can think about it. The first one is, I am picking my merchant first, and then I am selecting a product that I would like to get from that merchant. And then someone is going to the merchant, pick up this product and brings it home.
Right.
The second alternative option is that I'm thinking first about what are the products that I need. Cornflakes, Pepsi, shampoo, right? And then try to select that. And then in the second step, then the system needs to then select the merchant from whom these products should be picked up.
Right.
Yeah? So what's the entry point? Is it merchant-led or is it actually item-led?
Right.
And that, I think, is a fascinating opportunity and challenge at the same time.
Yeah, I've been a customer on occasion of Drizzly, not that I drink too much or anything, but it is interesting that the way it works is it's product led. So you say,
Correct.
I want a bottle of wine,
Correct.
and then they give you a list of retailers in your area that carry that bottle of wine.
Exactly.
Whereas Whole Foods is the opposite. So, okay, so we've been talking very theoretically, but how do the advertisers deal with this complexity? What are they buying?
Yeah, so the advertisers, right, they are buying also kind of space in the feed. Procter Pepsi, they want to rank the highest in the feed if someone goes after soda drinks. Yeah, so similar like to the restaurant, it's really about how can you in the feed get the highest visibility, the highest spot in the feed, so that you maximize the likelihood that they will pick your product.
Right. So what do they target? They target contextually, someone shopping for beverages or...
Exactly. They shop contextually, right? In some cases also you try to curate, right? Almost baskets that just make sense. And then you basically do that. Again, they have targeting opportunities. Maybe someone who, to your point earlier, who went to a bar, maybe we should show him Pepsi or whatever on the grocery app. Someone who's ordering burgers might be more likely, right? Or someone who's going to an NFL game is more into drinking, and so that's an option, yeah.
So I get that. So I'm just still having a little bit of a hard time picturing like what Pepsi is bidding on. Like, how does Pepsi set the rules? Like, they're willing to pay a certain amount per click or per order, and they want certain types of shopping lists.
Yeah.
Just kind of walk me through campaign setup.
They typically set a specific CPC, right?
Right.
That they are willing to pay, that they're willing to bid, right? And then again, it is either that they are not restricting the audience, right? Which just means if you're actually in a grocery app, then they would like to get the maximizing basically reach awareness for the fact that you can actually order Pepsi on the platform, or they might run a campaign specifically either contextually or audience type. On the audience type, it could be something like, hey, people who quite often go to bars, who often go to football stadiums, and contextually it could be time of the day, things like that, or dependent on what else you already have put into your grocery basket.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, I'm getting it now. And in terms of their results, is it also closed loop that they're seeing the orders actually take place?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Who's paying in a CPG example? Is there like this question of whether it should be a trade budget or an advertising budget, and whether there should be some shared cost between the retailer and the brand?
Yeah, indeed, this is a big topic, right? So typically, with the starting point, it is actually trade budgets. That's where we start, right? And again, the more you are in the lower funnel area, the more it is actually trade budgets. Okay. Which also means, to my earlier point, if you really want to go after the branding budgets, right, you need to offer incremental products. CPM-based products that enable an advertiser just to create awareness, to create reach, as a reason to tap into the branding budgets. Otherwise, you would stuck to the trade budgets, and at some point you will have reached your ceiling.
Right. So are you offering those type of mid to high funnel products through
We
like
have
email
started.
and things like
It's
that?
very early days for us, right? It's very early days where we started to do that. Yeah. So we have billboards. We have kind of feed takeover. So we're starting to kind of expand our portfolio of advertising formats.
Got it. Okay. Let's transition to talk about the in-ride app opportunity. So it sort of makes sense. I'm in an Uber for a half hour or whatever, and you're showing ads. Do consumers keep the app open? Do they look at the app while they're in the car? Because that seems like a real limiting factor, right?
Yeah, great question. So average ride, as I mentioned, is 20 minutes. And within the 20 minutes, the app is actually open for about 2 to 3 minutes. And the way how we're selling it is that the advertiser has exclusivity on the trip, which means it's only one single advertiser that has the 2 to 3 minutes of your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then
what sort of ad unit? Sorry
ad
to interrupt.
units.
It's a visual ad unit, right?
It is. So right now it's a display ad unit, and we are rolling out in Q2 also video ad formats. But for now, it is display only.
Got it. And is this a branding or a direct response unit?
It is. It is mainly branding, right? So entertainment customers are big clients of ours. We have some finance. We have telcos. So we have a lot of kind of customers, advertisers who are more in the branding space.
Right. So probably the Uber audience skews a little younger, a little more affluent. So it's an attractive audience. Just with no targeting, it's probably a pretty attractive audience.
Exactly. It's a young audience, as you mentioned, right? Highly educated, above average income. And it's hard to get hold of them anymore. And we have, again, a good amount of them. And we have, 2-3 minutes of undirected attention.
So what sort of targeting is generally used here? I mean, obviously the geo seems very relevant, but if it's branding, it's probably a lot less geo than you'd expect.
Well, actually, almost all campaigns right now are actually geo-targeted. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what attracts advertisers. That's unique. That's differentiated. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
And so almost all of the campaigns that we run right now are in some form or shape destination targeting. Right. Someone is on the way to airport. Someone is on the way to retail stores. Someone is in the Hamptons. Whatever it may be.
Okay. So what would I see if I would? I mean, I guess I could just open my app. But what sort of ads am I going to see if I'm going to the airport?
You might see, let's say, a Marriott ad, Norwegian Cruise Line ad, right? So again, a lot of kind of travel companies that they may want to do it. You might also see Amex or MasterCard or Visa, right, on the way to the airport.
But it's branding. You're not advertising like the Sparrows that's in JFK Terminal 3.
Yeah, what we could do is, right, and we have actually a few use cases where we can say, hey, you can actually order, let's say, a burger that you pick up before you actually go to the plane. You could do that. We could do that. We could do that. And we've seen a few use cases where we advertisers were interested in doing that. But I think it's a relatively small, I would say, use case.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't scale very well. So what other things are people looking for out of these ads besides geo in terms of targeting?
So a lot is also time of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the evenings, right, people go out to have fun. They go to bars, they go to restaurants, right? Mm-hmm. That's a great opportunity to do. That's another one, right? Then more and more what we see is crossing between mobility and eats. And what I mean by that is that you start to create awareness on the mobility side, and then you move them to the Uber Eats app where the transaction actually happens. Yeah.
Right.
And so we are seeing more and more full funnel campaigns. Yeah. Again, awareness is done on the mobility side, and then the performance piece is then followed up on the Eats side.
Right. Sounds like a good use case for like QSR, like Chipotle or something shows you a branding ad, you click on it, you buy it, you get a burrito delivered.
Exactly.
And what for ads that are not closed loop, what sort of performance metrics are people asking for?
Yeah. So right now we have the impressions, clicks that we measure, right? And we are right now working with third-party measurement providers that we are currently in the process of integrating so that the advertisers have more opportunities in terms of measurement.
Is that, are you talking about like verification vendors like Double
Yes,
Verify,
exactly.
IAS Mode?
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. Those are the ones that we're working on actively as we speak, and hopefully have them integrated relatively quickly. What you can then do further down the road is, right, you can also in the creative itself have a QR code, right?
Sure.
And then you might go to a Walmart, right, show the QR code, and then get, let's say, $5 off of your Procter & Gamble product you bought and that you saw on the way to Walmart in the car.
Right, right. I think despite all of your amazing data, you're not immune to the problem of how to measure brand ads on mobile devices. It's an unsolved problem, right? So you have that problem.
Yeah.
And any thoughts on making any of that inventory available programmatically?
Yes, that is one of the big topics that we're also working on. We definitely will start with PGs, PMPs, right? So it's not open market availability, but we do work with a few partners to make that available via the PG, PMP route.
Oh, it is currently, or it will be in the future?
No, it is not yet available.
Okay,
but we're
right.
working on partners to make it available.
Okay.
And is it now Q2, Q3? Well, I don't know the roadmap top of my mind, but it's
Right.
It's not that far out.
Got it. Okay. And are these display units available on a self-serve basis as well, or is it all big advertiser?
Today, it's only managed service.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So, okay, let's transition to tablets. So I don't know what this is. I've never seen a tablet in a Uber. And my understanding is that historically there was some sort of back and forth where the drivers wanted to control the in-car experience. So tell me about the tablet opportunity.
The tablet opportunity is something which we have launched in SF, LA, and in India, actually. And so the idea is that back of the seat, right, you have a tablet, and we know who is in the car. So again, the content on the tablet is personalized to Ari.
Right.
It starts with quick greeting. It starts with a little bit about the driver that drives you today, right? It shows then alteration between maps as well as where you are. And then at the end, you can then tip on the tablet
Nice.
if you enjoyed the ride, right? And so today it is that combination of kind of infotainment and ads. But in the future, we will also include more entertainment and ads
Right.
in the ride. So in the future, you could imagine that you are following up a series that you watched on your Netflix account or Prime Video account, right? And you follow it up while you are on the way to the airport, and before and after you might see an ad. So again, there's a lot of kind of flexibility in terms of what we can do with the tablet. It's early days, right? And it's a little bit chicken and egg problem, which means at the beginning, you don't have enough tablets out there so that it actually matters for the advertisers. But without advertising budgets, right, you don't want to pre-invest into the tablets. And so you need to overcome the chicken and egg problem in the beginning before you can actually then scale it quickly.
Well, the tablets solve your 2 minutes per ride problem, right? So
Exactly.
The ride is 20 minutes long. The app's only open 2. There's another 18 minutes of ads to show people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Are the tablets audio on by default or audio off by default?
Yeah, they are audio on by default.
So it's like New York's had taxi TV for like a decade or so. It drives people crazy.
Yeah, but again, the big difference is that we know who is in the car, right?
Right. That is a big difference. So you could actually show content they're interested in as well.
Yeah, and it's also from a positioning perspective different because I want to make sure that it's not positioned as out of home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, it's much more a CTV situation.
Sure.
Yeah? Where we have really 20 minutes uninterrupted attention situation where we really want to show video ads in the future for the 20 minutes of the average ride.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You definitely don't want to be pigeonholed as out of home because it always is not the sexiest area of advertising. Let's just say that. Are you, for the tablet product, are you revenue sharing with the drivers?
Yes.
All right. So, and how's their reaction and feedback been so far?
Early days, right, in 2 cities, but so far, really good traction. We have more drivers who are signing up. Yeah.
Okay, great. Do they have to pay for the tablet, or you just give them the tablet? Right.
We give them the tablet, right? Obviously, we want to make sure that they configure them correctly and that they have them on, right, and they drive with the car. But again, they're incentivized because there's a revenue share model in place.
Right. And as I was referring to earlier, there are some sort of independent Uber companies that try to have relationships with drivers. So that's a little bit of a point of friction historically.
Yeah, but again, the big difference is that we do know who is in the car.
Yeah.
And we do know
difference.
the destination of the ride.
Right.
Yeah. Which is why we can do very, very sophisticated targeting, which typically others can't do.
All right, let's talk about the last of the four pillars, which is car top. Is that what you call it, car top?
That's how we're calling it, yeah.
Right. So the ads on top of the cars. So this is a regional. This is digital out of home, and
that is indeed out of home. Yeah.
And it's regional because you need a license
Correct.
to do it. Right.
Yeah.
So tell me what the status is of this business now.
Yeah. So the status is that we have it up and running right in 7 cities here in the US, and we're using it for a couple of kind of purposes, if you like. The first one is it is really about driving awareness for retail stores. Yeah. So
right.
You might have seen the big Louis Vuitton campaign we had here in New York in December, right? Mm-hmm. Which really kind of helped to drive awareness of the pop-up store that Louis Vuitton had been running. So that's the primary use case. We also have much more kind of smaller kind of advertisers on the platform, right?
Sure.
It's for them a very easy way, right, to get some traction, some awareness. And the good news is if we do not have it sold out fully, and I fully admit we have not reached capacity yet, right? We can then also use it as a vehicle to run promotion for Uber itself, right? Uber Eats, Uber One, right? And so in that sense, we have kind of here a benefit to Uber itself by utilizing the screens that we have, even in a case where it's not yet fully kind of sold out.
So you mentioned New York, which is fascinating because you're not allowed to put an ad on top of an Uber in New York. You're running ads on top of yellow cabs.
That's a different setup compared to all the other markets, right?
Yeah.
Where we have it on Uber cars, right? But at the end of the day, it's also a question about scale, right? And at some point in time, you just need to have scale to win in this game, and therefore New York gives us scale.
Yeah, New York, just as a side note, did a sort of an RFP and has 3 or 4 different companies competing for the ad slots. So tell me about the targeting and the measurement for the car top.
Yeah, so targeting, also same as we discussed earlier, it's really about geo, right? Mm-hmm. The difference is when it comes to car tops, we cannot do one-to-one targeting for obvious reasons. So geo is the one what we can do, and time of the day is the second main targeting option that we can provide to our advertisers. And in terms of measurement, we are partnering with third parties, right? And then they do typically brand lift studies on behalf of our advertisers. Sometimes they also then measure foot traffic, right, as a consequence of running car tops campaigns. So those are the 2 types of measurement KPIs that we typically provide in conjunction with a third party.
Right. Yeah. The digital out of home challenges exist for everybody. That it's hard to measure, hard to get precise.
Exactly.
So I guess I don't think you disclose any numbers about it, but if you think about these 4 businesses, do you want to give us any sense of which are the big ones, which are the growing ones, where's the emphasis moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we have been public with 2 numbers. The first one is that we want to get to $1 billion by 2024 in advertising revenues, and we are already at a run rate of $500 million.
Great.
So we are on a good path to get to our $1 billion, right? And as you can imagine, right, all of the services we just discussed, they are growing rapidly.
Right.
Yeah. Obviously, sponsor listing is where we have the biggest base. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yet all of the 4 services are growing really, really nicely month over month.
Right. Makes sense.
So
and I think
quite happy.
We didn't really talk about your sales force. I assume you have a team that's out there hitting the streets, talking to agencies, talking to advertisers.
Yeah.
It's kind of maybe I'm editorializing here, but it's kind of a cool sale because they have a little bit of everything. They have direct response, they have branding, they have digital out of home, they can measure in 4 different ways. It's kind of a fun job.
It is a really cool sales pitch, right? It's a new, unique sales pitch. It's a sales pitch that is easy to get time on anyone's calendar, right? And so we have been actually quite happy and quite lucky to easily attract really, really good sales talent, not only here in the US, but we've also launched now a sales team in the UK and in France, Brazil, Mexico, Australia, even Japan and Taiwan, right? So we are really rapidly building out our dedicated sales force.
That's exciting. And then in terms of, moving forward roadmap, is there anything you want to talk about in terms of, the next year or two and where the focus is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, a big focus for us is the rollout of video and programmatic on the mobility side, right? That's the two main things that I'm really excited about. And then on the delivery side, I'm really, really bullish about our CPG offerings on the grocery side, right? Mm-hmm. That is really, really exciting for us. And that's where we put a lot of effort and energy into it. And then on the Uber Eats side, I think, again, for us, an untapped opportunity is still the branding area. Performance is what I think we have done. We have a good handle on it. But now also getting after the branding budget from our advertisers is really, really kind of the next kind of growth area. And we've seen in other markets that up to 40% of budgets, even on the Eats side, can come from branding.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand with programmatic, because the bigger
programmatic measurement,
more control, and
exactly.
Things like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
More ad formats. So our product engineering team, as you can imagine, is quite busy in building more and more features.
Yeah, I bet. All right, let's do a lightning round. I'll ask you some pretty quick questions. You have to give me some pretty quick answers. What's your one competitive advantage versus other solutions?
It's the targeting and the closed loop attribution.
Why won't walled gardens like Google, Facebook, Amazon eventually crush you? I ask that of everybody.
Because we have a marketplace of a global scale, right? And we are quite unique in combining the offline world and the online world.
What's your biggest product or market challenge?
We want to grow as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Right.
And that just means firing on all cylinders, being fast in hiring salespeople, but also being fast in building and partnering with third-party tech vendors.
Right. What do you mean? Like you're talking about the moats and double verifies?
The measurement, the moats, right?
Yeah.
The moats, the programmatic pipes. We need to kind of integrate them quickly while we're also building out Uber-specific features.
Got it. Okay, last question. If your company was an animal, what animal would it be?
So after thinking about this question for 5 seconds, lion came to my mind. I don't know why, but it was a picture that immediately popped into my mind.
Nothing wrong with the lion. We've got a lot of lions. All right, with that, thank you, Mark, for being here. This is a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Ari, for having me. It was a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for subscribing to Marketecture. New interviews are added every week at marketecture.tv and your favorite podcasting app.